Brother. How are you? Thanks, everybody.
Are we ready? I call this meeting to order. This is a special meeting of the Northfield Public School Board. Today is Monday, July 24th, and the time is 7 p.m. The purpose of tonight's meeting is to address the actions the board directed administration to bring forward in order to administer the November 2017 referendum election. Dr. Hillman, there was one item in the table file.
Yes, board members, in your table file, we have one additional item for individual action. It's the review and comment submission authorization, and what we just want to do is make sure that we take a specific action authorizing administration to submit the review and comment document to the Department of Education. And in talking with them, they just like us to have a very concrete motion and action on that. So we'll add that as item number 3. We're not asking you to review anything, we're just simply asking you to authorize us to do that.
Okay. Thank you very much. If there's no objection, we'll add this item to the agenda as we move forward. Tonight, the items for individual action are, as Dr. Hillman just mentioned, 3. We'll start with the first one, which is the resolution regarding combined polling places. So, as an item for individual action, is there a motion to adopt the resolution establishing combined polling places for certain municipal precincts and designating hours during which each polling place will remain open for voting for school district elections not held on the date of a statewide election? Is there a motion?
So
moved by Amy. Is there a second? Second by Margaret. Is there any discussion or questions?
What else? This is
Margaret.
on the regular election day in November, correct? What state offices or municipal offices are also on the ballot at this election?
So there are no statewide offices at all in this election cycle. What we have is in the city of Northfield, there is one at-large city council member that will be voted across the city, at all precincts across the city. So
Okay.
Northfield residents, if you live in the city of Northfield, you'll vote at your regular polling place. So none of those polling places are combined. We're consolidating our rural precincts into 3, and so the key thing is there are no other elections in those areas on that day.
Okay. And obviously no federal offices.
Correct. There's
Okay.
no state nor federal offices on November 7th.
Thank you.
You know, just to be clear, that page 2 of the resolution addresses the city of Northfield voters. Do you see that there?
Yes.
Yeah. Do you see that, Margaret? See it there on the left?
Right here, City of Northfield. Okay, yeah.
Okay. Are there any other questions or comments? Okay. I just wanted to make the comment, I'd like to see that we did expand to the townships for our rural community. We did combine polling places in 2011, so we thank Danita for her work with the townships to secure the 3 township polling locations. Rob, question?
Could you just clarify what work was done with the townships to combine those so that we know how it was expanded from 2011 and what the current situation is?
Sure, I'd be happy to address it, and then if Danita, if you can chime in too. Danita takes all the credit for this because she really does a lot of work on the election. So in 2011, all voters came into combined polling places within the city of Northfield. So all rural township voters came in and voted at a precinct in the city of Northfield. In this particular election, Danita worked extensively with what I call the elections expert at Dakota County and at Rice County. What we asked them...
And the city of Northfield.
And the city of Northfield, of course, and Deb Little. So talking to those 3 people who obviously run elections far more often than we do, we asked for their suggestions about how to effectively and efficiently run an election such as this. And so in talking with the Rice County folks and with the Dakota County folks, they gave us some suggestions, and we talked with... We're making a determination in Rice County, looking at a couple of different polling places. We reached out to those township clerks, I think is the appropriate title, or a city manager, and they came back and actually were on the same page about using the Bridgewater Township Hall as the voting location. Webster is just, it's a distance, from the city, and there's some other townships there, so we looked at the Webster Township Hall as one of those areas, again, looking at those places on what would be really the far west side of the district. And then we actually reached out to all of, because Dakota County townships are unique, because there are they're in Dakota County, it's a different system. We actually reached out to all of the township clerks in Dakota County, 5 of them, and we suggested, we looked and we said there was a couple of options we were looking at. We got their feedback. Most people said they were okay with either one. And Greenville Township Hall said, we'd love to host this election in this particular area, which is one of the 2 sites that we looked at. So we did reach out to a number of different people, asked experts in the field where they thought the combined polling places for our rural communities would be the best and the most efficient, yet giving good access to the polls. And so we used that feedback to make the recommendation that's part of the resolution this evening. Is that fair to say, Danita?
Yeah. Just to expand on that a little bit, Northfield School District is really unique. We touch 3 counties, Rice, Dakota, and Goodhue a little bit. There are 142 Northfield School District residents in Goodhue County. And then there are those 5 townships in Dakota County where part of the township is in the Northfield School District. Not necessarily the entire township, but some of the township. And then there's a section of the city of Northfield that is also in Dakota County. So, we thought about bringing those 5 townships into the Bethel Church voting place because that's where the city of Northfield, Dakota County people vote normally, all the time. But we would have had to, if you're a city of Northfield resident, go this way. If you're a Dakota Township resident, go this way. Potentially confusing. So that's why we were grateful that Greenville Township, which is one of the 2 Dakota County townships that have quite a few Northfield School District residents, okay? So we were thinking of either Greenville Township or Waterford Township as being the host polling place for those Dakota County Township residents, and Greenville came back and said they'd be happy to host it. So that's how Greenville Township was selected. Now those 142 voters in Goodhue County will come to Bridgewater Town Hall to vote, as well as the city of Dundas, because we reached out to the city of Dundas, as well as the Bridgewater Township clerk, and they were on the same page that, yes, let's vote at the Bridgewater Town Hall there in Dundas. So.
Okay, so a lot of effort was gone into making sure that the rural areas in the district were able to vote and in a more convenient way than, say, in 2011.
Kind of,
yeah.
Because they won't have to come in here.
Yeah.
Or won't have to come into the city of Northfield is what I mean.
And part of that was also looking at how do we try to, in those rural precincts, how do you balance the number of voters who potentially could go to a location? So that was part of the discussion as well. And we've had no less, Danita's had no less than a half a dozen conversations with each of the election point people in Dakota County, Rice County, and in the city of Northfield. Yep. So I do feel like we have really done a good researched effort, because our balance here is, we are paying for a lot of this election. So what we are looking for is how can we make sure that it's both effective and as efficient as possible. And so I think that we have struck an appropriate balance here.
Yeah, and just to go another little step further, just to make it really kind of crystal clear, the city of Northfield residents will have our questions and then the city council member question. So they'll have those 2 things going on here in the city of Northfield. All of those township people, Webster Town Hall, Bridgewater Town Hall, Greenville Town Hall, will just have our questions. That's it. So that was part of the reason why, too, of not bringing them into the city so that there's no confusion between the ballots and all of that, because the city of Northfield residents will have a different ballot than the township. Does that all make sense?
Excellent. Good questions. Any other questions or comments from anyone? Okay. We have a motion and a second, and this is a roll call vote.
Okay.
Danita?
Yes. Okay. Gerwitz?
Aye.
Hardy?
Aye.
Iverson?
Aye.
Colangelo?
Aye.
Quinnell?
Aye.
Stratholm?
Aye.
And Pritchard?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay. Second item for individual action is a resolution regarding the calling of the election. As an item for an individual action, is there a motion to adopt the resolution relating to revoking the existing referendum revenue authorization of the school district and approving a new authorizing the issuance of school building bonds and calling an election thereon. Is there a motion? Moved by Noel. Is there a second? Second by Ellen. Any discussion or questions? Rob?
If the election fails, then does the existing situation remain in effect until the expiration of the existing levy?
That is correct. So the existing, when you look in the new resolution, it even says that the updated amount would stay into effect until such time where there was an affirmative action to revoke it. So in order for the affirmative action to revoke the existing levy, that would have to be a yes vote on question number 1. So if question number 1, the operating levy, fails, the existing levy continues on as the voters approved in 2011 until the board were to take such action to do something different or the referendum were to expire.
And when is that?
2022, because it went into effect in 2012, passed in 11, in effect in 12, and it goes through 2022.
Okay.
So yes, the existing referendum stays unless there's an affirmative action to revoke and replace it.
Excellent question. Thanks, Rob. Any other questions or comments? Okay. We have a motion and a second. This is a resolution, so it is a roll call vote.
Gerwitz?
Aye.
Hardy?
Aye.
Iverson?
Aye.
Colangelo?
Aye.
Quinnell?
Aye.
Stratmon?
Aye.
And Pritchard?
Aye.
Yes.
Okay. So as you recall, in the table file, we had the third item for individual action, which is a review and comment submission authorization to MDE. So it asks for a motion to authorize the district administration to submit the required review and comment materials to the Minnesota Department of Education.
So moved.
Moved by Rob. Is there a second? Second by Amy. Questions or comments? Rob?
So this is a motion to allow the Department of Education to collect comments from the general public about this issue.
There's 2 parts to it. So the review and comment document is something that we've been working with ETSNR on, and it's a very detailed description of the bond question. And so what happens then is, in the old days, the department would simply come back, the commissioner would come back with a report that would be basically favorable, unfavorable, or neutral, was basically how it was. So the bottom line is that we have to submit it. The department gets up to 60 days to respond in that way, shape, or fashion. And then the law for a long time has said you have to publish that document in the newspaper at least 20 days before the election. This past legislative session, so we will see how the department implements it. The last legislative session also required that the department include comments from the citizenry about the review and comment document. We have not seen guidance of how they're going to do that yet. We believe that's the state's requirement to do that. And then the other new requirement that we have as a board is to present a summary of the review and comment document, or the feedback that was given from the state of Minnesota at a public meeting. So the moment that typically most school districts will do that at a board meeting in October is what you're going to see this fall. As soon as we get that feedback back from the department, we will put it on the next regular board agenda to provide that public report as required now by law. That's new. We're going to be among the first districts to have to do that in the state. So there is a new mechanism that the department is required to publish any comments that people have on the submission itself. The way it appears is that's on the department to collect that information. And we'll be working with them, to do so. The key thing for this particular action is that part of the document says that the board has specifically authorized us to submit the review and comment document. And I spoke with Chris Kubish at MDE today, and even though we actually looked in the resolution you just adopted, we think we could make an argument in that resolution, we'd rather just make sure that we have the appropriate authorization, so when we're filling out that last part, we can say, the board has authorized administration to make the submission of the review and comment. They get it, they start to do their piece. Once we get that feedback, we have to publish it in the newspaper no less than 20 days ahead of the election, and we have to share a summary of the document at a public meeting.
Okay, I'm just a little bit confused about what the review and comment is about, because if it's a review and comment about, is this something we should do, then there's the election for that. So what are they commenting on, and what action might result from it on our part?
So what they're reviewing and commenting on is they're reviewing and commenting on the particular plan, and it's simply giving the citizens another external entity other than us saying that, yes, we've reviewed the plan is appropriate given a number of different conditions for example, in some cases, if you're constructing a new elementary school, there are some guidelines that they have for the number of acres that you might want for a new elementary school. We will meet that requirement in terms of that, because we know those kinds of things ahead of time. There will be pieces around, do you have enough space programmed for the number of students that you have? So one of the examples is that part of the review and comment, they will submit what's called a space plan, and they show the amount of students in a particular space, and they show the total square footage, and that's part of the review. There are many districts who have already adopted a resolution to move forward with a election this fall, who are submitting the review and comment process right now as well. The department doesn't say that you can't. They won't ever come back and say, nope, you're not going to do this. They issue a comment saying that they have a favorable support of it, they're unfavorable, or I think the third term is neutral. So obviously if they were to come back, which this is why we're working with a partner who does this all the time, and we have from the beginning, if another community had an unfavorable report, obviously that might influence, which is why you have to publish it more than 20 days ahead of the election. So it's really an external entity saying, yes, we've looked at the plan, and yes, this looks something that's favorable, or that we have concerns about it, but it's still up to the local community to make that decision.
Okay, so during this period, if someone in the community were to look at our plan and say, there's a technical problem here, we don't have enough space to do this, or whatever, they could make that comment, and
Yes, we're...
So it's not really voting. It's not
right.
What the vote is. It's whether the plan that we're submitting is a proper plan to bring to the voters.
It's giving the voters information about what the Department of Education feels about the plan.
Okay. Right.
Is that helpful?
Right. So in the end result of this review process is that the Department of Education will say, this is a bad plan or this is a good plan, and if it's a good plan, it will have the blessing of the department, and
if it's not so, then it won't.
Plan,
correct.
Then if the department says there are problems with this plan, what happens?
Yeah, well, what happens is we have to publish that to the voters, and then
Okay.
the voters can make the determination. That may be something that the voters would take into account. I feel very confident we're going to get a favorable review because of the 2-year process that we've used to this point, and using, when we're working with a company like ATS&R, they're doing this all the time. And so the pieces that we brought forward, we have great confidence that they are well within the parameters of the Department of Education because we've looked at those parameters. Now, in some cases, you could have a circumstance where a school district, I even think review and comment isn't just for a big bond issue like this. It could also be for a smaller addition on the building. So, for example, when we did the Sibley addition in 2008-09, even though that didn't go to the voters because it was a construction project above a certain amount of dollars, there was a requirement for a review and comment on that. So that's an example where the voters, that wasn't something for the voters because the board voted on that to use our capital dollars to pay that debt off over so many years. That is really, in that case, is a good piece for the board to have that, to say, yes, we're doing this small addition, it's meeting all the requirements. We have an external entity giving us their opinion on it. At the end of the day, Minnesota still allows for local control in this kind of piece. And so it is conceivable for someone to get an unfavorable rating and get past the election. I don't anticipate that to be the case here. I think we all know that we've done enough due diligence to have made sure that the project will receive a favorable rating, but we still have to go through the process.
So there's been like a 2-year process within the school district. The school board has thought about it all this time. It goes to the department. They have a period for gathering comment.
They're reviewing it and they're looking at it,
Right.
yeah.
So the whole process is going to be thoroughly vetted before it comes to the voters.
I can assure you of
And they
that.
will all, the voters will be able to say, this is what the school board thinks, this is what the Department of Education thinks, and if all those things are checked, then it's up to them. It's approved up to their vote.
That is correct.
Amy?
So I just want to make sure I understand. The review and comment, the comment parts are only comments by the Department of Education?
Right.
Or do they open it up to the public?
So the review and comment typically is done by the Department of Education. That's the way it's been done every year up until now. Now what we've seen is the legislature has said that the department has to have a way to collect other comments about it, and that they must publish those along with their comment. We've not seen one of these yet because it's brand new in terms of that. We have understood that they will implement it this fall, though we have not seen how they implement that yet. Now, how they have done some other pieces is that they use their website to collect some of those comments. I'm talking about separate pieces. For example, I weighed in on a proposed rule change affecting special education, which was a favorable rule change for school districts. There's a section on the state's website to do such. I'm assuming that that's what they're going to use, but it's a brand new requirement for them that just got passed in June. And so we haven't seen how they will actually roll that piece out yet.
Thank you.
Excellent questions, thank you. Other questions or comments? Okay. We have a motion and a second. This is not a resolution, so we'll just, I will ask for all those in favor to say aye. Opposed?
Just testing you.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, so we have the authorization for the submission to MDE, which was in fact our last item for individual action, and that therefore concludes the business of tonight's meeting. I'll just remind board members of future meetings, Monday, August 14th and Monday, August 28th of 2017 at 7 p.m. in the High School Media Center. With that, I ask for a motion to adjourn. Moved by Jeff. Is there a second? Okay. We're going to break from tradition and not have Noel move or second these. I don't know. That feels like bad karma.
Yeah, let's have Noel
Let's have
second
Noel
it.
second it.
Yeah.
She's-
We gotta stay with what works.
Thanks for buying into
Yeah.
my little OC
It all works.
behaviors.
We're all in this together.
We're all in this together, but we like when Noel has his
Yep, but
way
tradition
of
works.
doing things
In
for
it
us.
together.
So moved by Jeff, seconded by Noel. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We are adjourned.